Well, hello, everybody. It's been a while. This is your host, Wednesday. This is the Whispers Lounge. Today, we are not only keeping pace with our lack of schedule, we are keeping pace with our lack of topic, seeing as how we went from anime to MMA back to anime. I apologize. I have a lot of interests that interest me, and I like to talk about all of them, which I guess is why I'm such a good conversationalist, some people tell me. The social anxiety doesn't do that for me, though. So, on today's podcast, we are going to be discussing not only anime of the year, we're going to be talking about episode of the year, we're going to be talking about most animes that were a big enough name to recognize that came out this year. Obviously, we're going to miss a couple here and there because, we're going across an entire year and we're not going to hit every single topic like I would like to. So, before we begin, I would like to introduce you to my co-host here on the podcast today. Long time, well, I say long time, regulars will know him, but for those of you who may find this podcast in the void somewhere and were inclined to listen, this is our friend Blackasta. Blackasta, say hello to the people.
Hello, everyone. My name is Blackasta25. I know Wednesday for a really long time. You could say I'm the Seto Kaiba to his Yugi when it comes to anime.
Kind of,
So
yeah.
I'm very fortunate to be here and to co-host this podcast with him. So thank you very much.
Of course, of course. See, the thing was, the first podcast was actually Blacasta supposed to be on, but I just was in the moment. I said, you know what, we're just going to throw Amatsu in there because I felt like Amatsu was more readily available. And it was a very much in the
Yeah,
moment thing. Man's really
yeah.
added the 25. He really did. I was thinking the same thing. Also, for those of you once again listening into the void, we record this live on Twitch for the time being. So if you hear me, if you hear a sub emote, if you hear a follow and follow notification, that would be why. You probably won't though because we're not that big, but that's fine. We need to talk about these things somehow, and I'd like to incline discussion. And
Mhm.
I'll try my best, chat, people in chat. I apologize if you feel ignored. I'm just trying to focus on the podcast, so bear with me. Now, without further ado, we're going to keep it simple. We're going to be discussing the year-end anime. I wouldn't say awards because I would say we are not qualified to give those awards. Crunchyroll's not even qualified to give those awards. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through the seasonals. We're going to go from winter 2022 to winter 2023 because obviously some of those have. Well, actually, no, I don't think any of them have started yet. But I would like to discuss the upcoming anime at the beginning of next year towards the end of this podcast. And let's get right into it. I mean, what else is there to discuss? So, to start, we're going to be going over Winter 2022. These are the anime that started at the end of last year and went into the new year. These opened up our anime year. People tend to forget these anime came out because it's been so long at this point. However, a lot of really good ones came out at the beginning of this year that I feel like do not get discussed enough.
Yeah, I'm already looking at some of these and it was like, wow, nobody talks about these ones, even though they were really, really good and should be talked about more.
Yes. So to start, the two biggest elephants in the room for this year, we have Attack on Titan, the final season, part two, started
Mm,
January of this year, and Demon Slayer started with the movie. They retold the movie in the anime at the end of last year, and as we went into the new year, we got the Red Light District, which, depending on who you ask, a lot of people consider one of the best arcs in that series. Me probably being among those. That is the sub
mhm.
sound for those of you wondering. Thank you very much, Ripcord. So, to start, Demon Slayer, fantastic. Say what you want. Say what you want about Demon Slayer. You can say it's carried by its animation. You can say the plot is nothing new. Say what you want. In my God's honest opinion, I have my problems with Demon Slayer. I've always had my problems with Demon Slayer. I'm very vocal about my problems with Demon Slayer. However, the anime always delivers. If you don't like it, I really feel it just comes down to just saying you don't like action based series. That's fine. You're allowed not to like action based series, but I don't think it's fair that Demon Slayer gets dogged on as much as it does when you have shows like Dragon Ball Super where the general populace is like, oh, well, you can just turn your brain off and watch it. Why can't you do that with Demon Slayer? But that's my opinion on the show.
Mhm. For me, it comes really down to if we're talking about season two particularly, I feel like they really didn't need to retell the movie in episode format because Crunchyroll already released the movie on their site, so you can watch the movie free from there. But I think Demon Slayer gets a lot of flack. I think it shouldn't. It produces good quality in animation. The voice acting is really good. They really make you feel for the characters and the backstory. And overall, I think season two was good. It started off slow, but that's usually when it comes to starting a brand new arc. It has to start off slow so you can reach to the big points and big impact and conclusion towards the series. So I really enjoy season two. I think it has one of the best fight scenes of this year alone. Daki and Guitar were a good antagonist to our protagonist, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I think it was very well done to start off the year.
I agree. I do believe, and I do want to talk about this. It
Mhm,
all started with Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball retelling Resurrection F and retelling Battle of Gods in Dragon Ball Super for like the first 30 episodes, 30, 40. Went for a very long time before we got the first tournament arc. I think it was just Universe 6 versus Universe 7.
mhm,
I do think we're going down a dangerous road. I'm glad that Jujutsu Kaisen just came out of Jump Festa and said that, we're going right into hidden inventory and we're going into
mhm,
Shibuya and they're not going to retell Jujutsu Kaisen 0, which makes sense because it's a prequel. But
mhm.
any movie that's going to fall into the canon, I think we're heading into territory where we are going to get milked because half the season was spent on Mugen Train, which I think is ridiculous.
And question, I don't know if this is correct or wrong, but are they retelling Red Light District for the next season before we enter the next arc with the Miss Hashira and the Love Hashira? I
They
could be wrong, but yeah.
they may do what they did at the beginning of Red Light, where they kind of did a recap, where
Okay.
they have like a filler thing. I wouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, we're only gonna get Swordsmith Village. I feel they're not
Mhm,
because Swordsmith Village immediately after is the training arc, and I feel like they're gonna open the season after that, like in 2026, with the training arc before we get into Infinite Fortress. So
mhm,
we'll find out. Anime onlys are like, what the hell are these guys saying? Personally, I feel Red Light District is the peak. I think it's downhill from here. I think Infinite Fortress has some ups. Akaza being the big up for me, as I talk about consistently. But we'll see what ends up happening. Demon Slayer, in regards to Anime of the Year, I think it is a fair thing to bring up because
yeah.
I think once the climax of Demon Slayer really got going, I think it really got going. So that's how I feel about it. Moving on, though, the other big anime, and these were both coming out on the same day. I remember being so excited. I remember talking to Alanya. We were always just getting so excited because Attack on Titan came out the same day, a couple hours later. Attack on Titan
Mhm,
Final Season Part 2 adapts my favorite parts of the final couple arcs. We're talking about paths, everything with Aaron and Zeke. We're talking about the rumbling, the beginning of the rumbling. We are talking about the alliance being formed. However you feel about the alliance, we're not here to discuss that. Obviously, people have their issues with it, me being included. However, I do believe Attack on Titan is one that always gets forgotten about. I feel Attack on Titan. It's because Attack on Titan always comes out at the beginning of the year, and I feel like the staying power for it is not as strong because of how it ended. And even though Demon Slayer's ending wasn't anything crazy for me, I think Demon Slayer being kind of the casual man's anime really helps it when you're talking about animes that come out in comparison to Attack on Titan, where it's like you kind of have to pay attention. You have to keep track of what's going on. You're going to be completely lost because it's not something you just watch for the sake of watching.
mhm. For me, when it comes to Attack on Titan, I feel a different way because I like what I love the season. I love the part two of the final season. I just I just think the pacing was a bit weird because we started off the first episode right into it, right in the midst of it, where it was like into the battle, and then progressively going forward onwards. There was a couple slow episodes, I feel, towards after the one big climax in the season, and then where they ended the season off, I felt like was a very weird placement to put off the part two. I feel like if they what they would do for the final season of Attack on Titan would make it two parts, where they end part one of the final season with the rumbling and continue the duration from part two to the end. So I enjoyed part two of the final season. I do wish they worked better on the pacing, but I enjoyed every episode that Aaron was a part of, every episode that Grisha was a part of. I think um, I think the one episode where they were fighting to get on the boat was amazing. And yeah, I think the cast is great for the final season. So hopefully with part three, we'll see what they do. We'll see what they do in the short time that it comes out next year.
For those who read the manga, they're gonna start it. For those of you who gave up on the series, who watched the anime, read the end of the manga, hated it, and gave up on the series, the first episode's gonna adapt chapter 131. And I'm very, very, very excited, as that's probably my second favorite chapter in the entire series. So I'm very interested to see how that's adapted, how well it's done. I know they'll do it justice. With Attack on Titan, I think, like I always say, it is one that should be discussed for Anime of the Year. However, people just forget it came out, which,
Yeah.
that's how recency bias works. That's why newer things always tend to either win awards or be talked about more because recency. Now, one anime I do have to discuss because it kind of took the world by storm. Dress Up Darling came out this year.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
did.
my Dress Up Darling came out this year. For those of you who don't know, it is a rom com, slice of life anime. I don't watch it. I've kind of grown past the point of the schoolgirl trope. I am just not really too much of a fan anymore. When I was younger, maybe, but even then, not really. I never cared for fan service or anything like that. The content that is in the series, I don't care for. I'm not going to sit here and tell you you're wrong for watching it. I think that's a bit strong. However, I'm just not crazy about my Dress Up Darling. That's why I never really sat down to really give it a chance to watch it, because just knowing the context of the series, I just was like, eh. There's better rom-coms out there. There's better shoujo out there that I could read or watch if I wanted to.
Mhm. So with me, I never seen My Dress Up Darling, but I do have a couple friends that do watch it and enjoy it, and they tell me it's very good and it's a very, very interesting and fun story, and it gives a lot of inspiration if you're into cosplaying and want to cosplay. So I think if you're into cosplaying or eventually want to dive into it and you want to look for inspirations and kind of like have this familiarity, I think Dress Up Darling be up your alley. And it took the world by storm. A lot of people enjoy it. A lot of people had different feelings about it. I can't put my opinion on it because I haven't seen it, but I feel like if you're into cosplay, yeah, go ahead and try out My Dress Up.
If you're into anime, period, you know who Marin is.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that kind of says all you need to say about how popular this anime got very quickly.
Mhm.
But once again, neither of us saw it, so I can't give a true opinion on it. Those of you who did see it, let me know how you felt. And one
Yeah.
other anime I do want to talk about, even if just briefly, because I know I actually looked at this. I did not realize the manga for this, or the light novel, I'm not sure what it is actually in like the top 50 on my anime list, like for score wise, for how like good it is. Case Study of Vanitas. Part 2 came out this year, and the anime
I
is
never
apparently
heard of
decent.
it.
Yeah, it's a vampire series. Apparently the manga or light novel, like I said, not sure what it is. Case Study of Vanitas is apparently super good. It's on the to-do list now because I did not realize just how much people liked it. And it has an 8.21 on my anime list. It's animated by Bones. Apparently it's decent. I may give it a chance. I believe Alanya started it, or she gave it a couple episodes. I don't remember. I think she was at least interested in it. But yeah, Case Study of Vanitas came out this year. I may actually start reading that because of, everything I have researched about it.
Mhm.
All right, we're moving into spring 2022. Now,
Question.
yes, yes.
Are we doing continuing anime in the category? And there is one anime I do want to talk about that actually did came out last year.
Depends. What anime are you talking about?
Ranking of Kings.
I thought that was this year. Wasn't that 2022?
Right?
Or did it end in 21?
It ended in 2022 because they did the second core in 2022.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, ranking. Yeah. No, Ranking of
Yeah,
Kings. I think is definitely up for discussion. Nobody
yeah.
that series came out of nowhere.
Let's talk about it.
All right, well, you're the one who's seen it, so you kind of gotta take the lead on that one.
So, when we watched the first two episodes with our friend Art up in Seattle, I thought it was a very, very emotional telling of uh, an interesting plot that you really don't see often about this child, Prince, that is one, deaf, and is also mute. So, throughout the entire series, he cannot speak or talk. He can only communicate with sign language, except with his companion, Kage. And it's a very interesting telling story about a boy who's wanting to like be appreciated in the kingdom. And it has a unique art style that is kind of familiar to like the old Zelda game. And if it's animated by Studio Wing, one of the best animation studios out there. But if you love medieval and fantasy series, you would love Ranking of Kings, and it will play with your heart because there are hard and emotional parts to the story that may make you cry. It has a beautiful animation fight sequence. It has a good storytelling, and I cannot wait for season two. But yeah, Ranking of Kings should be discussed for Anime of the Year because one, Belgi's a great protagonist. So yeah, Ranking of Kings.
So it's funny he mentions that because when we were in Seattle watching it with Aru is Alanya, by the way, so he's gonna. I started calling her by her real name to my IRL friends, and it's kind of just bled into everybody else, but he still calls her by the online name, so any confusion there, it's the same person. When we were up there watching it with Alanya, it's funny because after the second episode, me and her like looked at each other and turned to Blackasta here, and he's in tears. And it's emotional. Don't get me wrong. I had already seen the episode. She hadn't seen the episode. And I don't think she knew what to expect from the series. She never finished it, unfortunately. I never finished it. It's on the to-do list. I was catching up on One Piece, took up all my time. Now I have a backlog that I'm slowly getting through. I'm watching Terror in Resonance right now. For those of you who don't know that one, it's a very good one. Done by the guys who did Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo. So give that one a look if you get a chance. But yeah, no, it's been on the to-do list. Anime Twitter loved it. It came out of nowhere. Nobody knew what this anime was. It looks like a kid's show when you're like looking at like the poster and everything, but then you actually watch it and the subject matter is much more mature. And I definitely think it is worth actually diving into. I appreciate you bringing it up because I did forget about it because it's not on this list because it started last year.
Yeah.
So we move into spring 2022. Now I'm just gonna run through a couple anime that came out. We're not gonna touch on them, but I feel like they're worth at least mentioning. We had Date Alive 4 came out this year. I know a lot of people do enjoy that. Come Can't Communicate, second season, came out this year. That one, a lot of people enjoy. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Aoashi, soccer anime, came out this year. The one that people always perk up with Blue Lock, which we'll get to later, because Aoashi follows a more realistic story as far as I'm aware. But that's one I've been thinking about getting into, honestly. But the manga is very
Patty
long.
loves it.
Yeah.
Patty loves it. He prefers it over Blue Lock, actually.
Well, Blue Lock is a lot more campy, so I understand that.
Yeah, yeah.
So the couple. Oh, also Kingdom season 4. If I'm ever gonna consume Kingdom, I want to read it. Which is why I've been like holding off on like really getting into it because everyone says Kingdom is Kingdom is considered one of the best manga ever. So I do think it's worth at least looking into.
It
But
is
there's
really good.
3 big anime that came out this year. We're gonna go from I want to say most popular to least popular. Well, actually, no. I'm just gonna
Mhm.
talk about in whatever order I feel like because it's my damn show. We're gonna start with the first seasonal anime that took the world by storm. If you're an anime fan, at least, I don't want it's. When I say took the world by storm, I mostly mean in anime context, not in the sense of casuals would have seen it or talked about it, but it might have been something they turned on and went, wait a second, this is something interesting. Our first one is going to be Summertime Render. This is a murder mystery, I believe. I did not get a chance to watch it yet. Somebody I trust very much enjoyed Summertime Render, told me I should look into it. I never got a chance. Was a seasonal anime, came out this year. It was running mostly through the summer, ha ha ha, and people very much enjoyed it. I really want to watch it because the context of the trailer of it makes it look very creepy, and I really, really want to sit down and consume this. But I just have not gotten to it yet. But I know it's worth at least mentioning because for a while, it's all anybody was talking about on anime Twitter.
For me, summertime rendering, I really didn't hear a lot about it. I know it's still this type of animes where you travel through time, try to save your friends. I believe it has the similarity of Tokyo Revengers and Erase. A person I do watch for reactions actually watched Summertime Rendering and said it was his favorite anime of the season to watch, and that more people should watch and look into it. So yeah, Summertime Rendering. I may look into the future, but not anytime soon. But yeah, I heard a lot of great things about the show.
You're coming like in and out. I feel like you're either sitting too far away from your mic or you just keep like fading out because I've turned you up.
Okay, am I good now?
You're better now, yes. Also, I
Okay, okay.
forgot. Kong Ming came out this year. I forgot about Kong Ming. That came out this year. That was one that a lot of people found really, really fun. Do you remember that one, right? That's the one with the really good opening.
I don't remember that.
It's the one where the tactician from China goes back in time and he becomes a manager of this idol.
Oh yeah, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that
I
came out
know.
this year. I forgot
Yeah,
all
okay,
about that.
yeah.
Apparently that one's decent too, but once again, I don't think me or him saw it, so we can't really discuss it. But I know a
Yeah.
lot of people had a lot of fun with this one. It's one that I wanted to watch. I think one Alanya actually was looking into watching, but with her very busy schedule, she's half the shit she says she's going to watch, she never watches. So,
Mhm.
all right. Now we're down to the big two, and these are both good contenders for Anime of the Year. To be completely honest with you, number one is the one that me and you were very excited for. We were in Disney when the first trailer dropped, when we found out which studio was going to be the ones primarily in control with Cloverworks for the anime. It's Spy
I
Family.
woke you up. Yeah.
Yeah, he woke me up. I was fast asleep, and he wakes me up. Says, "Dude, trailer for Spy Family just dropped. Spy Family. Say what you will. I know people like to say it's overrated. People like to say, I don't understand the hype. That's fine. You don't have to understand the hype. It's a fun anime. It's basically, well, it's a comedy. It's a dramedy. That's the word for it. It's a dramedy. It's a lot of fun. Great characters. There's a character for everybody. I think that's what I'm trying to say here. There's a character that
Yeah.
anybody, like, you're gonna find somebody in that series that you find yourself attached to, even if you're not big on the series. I feel, and I mean, what more is there to say about this anime that hasn't already been said? It's probably one of the most popular anime on the planet right now. I mean, Anya merch is everywhere. Your merch is everywhere. The
Yeah.
storyline, it has its up and downs. There are some arcs that are much better than others. I will say my problem with Spy Family is probably that the low point arcs, they're never bad, but they can get extremely boring. That's just me.
Mhm.
Blackasta here likes Spy Family a lot more than I do. Not to say I don't like it. I think it is fantastic. But Blackasta, let's hear what you have to say.
So, it's funny you mentioned that. I believe I started reading Spy Family back in the beginning of 2020, and I read fast through it because I really enjoyed it a lot. And 2020 was a dampy year for a lot of people, and it was very enjoyable. It was just really fun to read. And I remember I was telling Wednesday, Amatsu, all of our friends, you need to stop everything and read Spy Family because this is generally going to be the next big thing. And I was convinced it was going to be the next big thing. And I was each time there was like I think Mappa had an event or there was the Jump Festa or any anime events, I would be eagerly anticipated for a Spy Family trailer to be revealed. And Spy Family has been a very, very good series to read whenever I'm in like a bad mood or a sad mood. Uh, Anya would always cheer me up. Lloyd and yours relationship is always fun to see. The animation for Spy Family, I feel like people don't talk about it a bit too much. It's a really, really, really unique style how they go about it. It kind of looks like Kage-sama, but the action scenes feels like something you would see off of Demon Slayer. So, and Wednesday was mentioning uh, that there was a couple episodes recently that feel off, and it's not due to the anime's fault. That's how the manga formatted the chapters. So the anime is just going based on that. And if you really think about it, during this seasonal time, Spy Family hold it down week by week. There wasn't really anything other coming out. Shikamori isn't a cute or is a cutie came out, but that I believe failed. And yeah, Spy Family hold it down through spring and summer, and then the fall seasonal came back, and then Spy Family was competing with the other seasonal animes in fall. But yeah, Spy Family is a great series. I highly recommend everybody to read and watch it. And I I could argue that it may be anime of the year.
I agree. It's definitely in the conversation, but once again, we will get to that towards the
Yeah.
end. But it's funny you mentioned it. The other big anime that came out at the same time, it was Kaguya-sama. Now, Spy
Hmm.
Family is a lot more appealing to the casual audience, especially because it was just starting. You could get right into it. Kaguya, I think this is season 3, or it was season 3.
Yes.
Kaguya-sama actually has over a 9 ranking on my anime list. It is the most popular rom-com anime on the planet right now, depending on how you feel about it. I know Alanya says it's overrated, but that's because rom-coms are her genre. However, I don't think anyone can say Kaguya-sama is bad. I've only seen 3 episodes because I had a bet with a friend where I was going to watch 3 episodes of Kaguya. He was going to watch 3 episodes of Your Lie in April. I had watched my 3 episodes of Kaguya. I was waiting for him to watch the 3 episodes of Your Lie in April. We have now gone about 4 years. He only just now finished Your Lie in April, so I'm finally unlocked. And I am able to watch this series. I can't wait till I get to it. But it is one that everybody on anime Twitter was saying this is peak. This is the apex of the medium. I believe the manga just ended actually for this.
It has. It has.
Yeah. So this is one that I am very excited to get into once I do get into it. Kaguya-sama definitely is in the conversation. I once again don't watch it. Blacasta, do you watch Kaguya? Question mark.
I'm a huge fan, and I'll get to that point.
All right. Well, the floor is yours. I can't say anything else. I haven't seen it.
So when it comes to the conversation of female anime characters, you think of Mikasa, you think of Nezuko, you think of Nami and Robin from One Piece. You also think of Kaguya from Kaguya-sama. Even if you never heard of the series, you probably have seen her in your For You page on TikTok, Twitter, or anywhere else. And it's a big reason why. It's a rom-com, and the way they execute it in the anime is very unique, and it's a really different format style. They how they go about the episodes is like they do short mini stories in episodes. So you would have 3 short mini stories in each episode. And they're all very likable characters. And Kage kind of just blew up out of nowhere in like 2019 or 2018. And then the Chica dance came out, and it's just a very fun series. If you're like towards that age range of like 17 to like mid 20s, it's that type of age range. And it's very unique for its time. And it was against a lot of other big time animes during the time, like Mob Psycho, Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan. But Kaguya-sama always had a unique twist to its character. And I think season 3 is doing great. I cannot wait for the movie. There's a movie actually coming out this month for Kaguya-sama. So if you're a big Kaguya-sama fan, look into the movie that's coming soon.
One thing I forgot to talk about that I'm going to just fly over for a second
Yeah.
because I just completely forgot. Anime movies that came out this year. Fruits Basket Prelude. I am a massive Fruits Basket fan. Fruits Basket is probably actually in my top 5 anime, period. I love that series. Every episode feels like a movie. They're 20 minutes long, they feel 50, but in a good way. Fruits Basket is fantastic. I will scream to the heavens that everybody should watch it. It got a prequel movie. Was it problematic? Absolutely. I love every single goddamn second of it. You best believe it. Everyone should watch Fruits Basket, and you should definitely watch the movie. You can actually no, you can't start with the movie because the first 30 minutes of the movie, this is where the problem is, recaps the show, so it would actually spoil how the show ends for you. However, definitely recommend watching it. Also, just shouting out because this has been an OG anime. This is one of the OGs. Been around for a minute, holding it down. Detective Conan got its 25th movie that came out this year. Nobody watched it, but good for Detective Conan for keeping up just with the timeline. Good for them. Also, is that, I believe, Quintessential Quintuplets also got the movie this year. So good for
They
that,
did.
too.
They did. They did.
Yep. So good for them. Also, Kaizen was 2022. Or it came out at the end of 21, but we saw it in
Well, in
20.
Japan, 2021.
Yeah,
For us, it
Japan.
was 2022.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, we're not going to talk about it too much, but I do want to talk about the experience. Me, Blackasta, and our friend Omega went up to Alania's place in Seattle, and we stayed about 5 days, and we went to see the movie. Absolutely loved it. We all loved it. Even Omega, who's not that big of an anime fan, he did have his moments where he was bored, but he still very much enjoyed the final act. Fantastic movie. Jujutsu Kaisen is fantastic, and I will scream to the heavens. If you do not like that series, then I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
For
Now,
me, when we were
sorry.
when we were watching, sorry,
No, you go.
when me Wednesday or and Omega were watching the movie, it was amazing. We were watching in IMAX. Every single scene was beautifully shot. How they represent Yuta and Rika was amazing. The soundtrack was amazing. Every single scene was great to watch to the end. And I cried. I cried at the end of the movie. And I remember looking back at Art and she's just sobbing in tears and like looking for a tissue and all that. And I just patted her on the shoulder. I was like, it's okay, I'm crying. So, for me, Kaizen has a special place in my heart because I watch it with my friends. And I feel like that's my favorite moment of the year. So yeah, Kaizen, Jujutsu Kaisen 0, amazing movie. Go watch it. It's on Crunchyroll right now.
Yes, very well said. Now, we move into summer 2022. Now, this is where, how do we put it? This was an interesting one because not a lot of big names came out at this time because all of them were coming
Mhm.
out in the fall. But one couple that were at least worth noting, Overlord got its season 4, which was apparently very good. I do not watch Overlord. I have friends who swear by Overlord and they have for years. They loved it. It's on the to-do list. Call of the Night came out this year. The manga is very popular. The anime didn't do fantastic numbers, but it was still worth noting. I also believe, like you said, was Shikamori summer or was that spring?
It was spring summer.
Okay, so Shikamori was taken TikTok by storm, and everyone was so excited. It kind of flopped. It was just very cliche. Nobody really cared, and it's
Hmm.
unfortunate. But not every anime is going to be a hit. Classroom of the Elite got its season 2. I don't watch it, but I know a lot of people do. That one has a very large fan base, but once again, I don't watch it. I think season 2 did had a very quiet, good season, but nobody really talked about it, unfortunately. So, once again, not every anime is going to blow up. The two that are going to be worth talking about here is the seasonal that was probably the biggest seasonal of the year. I did actually end up watching it. I thought it was a very perfect seasonal anime. Did exactly what it needed to do. Does not need a season 2, but due to the fact of its popularity, I know it's getting like a manga adaptation. It's getting this, it's getting that. I don't want to butcher the full name, so I'm just going to call it by its abbreviated name. Lyco Rico came out this year. Very
It
fun.
did.
It did come out this year. Yep. It's very fun. I enjoyed it. There obviously when you watch seasonal anime, for those of you who probably don't watch, who do not watch seasonals, and you watch like the big name stuff where it's, long continuated, seasonal anime always are like 12 episodes, something along those lines, and your plot opens and closes by the end of those 12 episodes, and sometimes there's something lacking there. There's like, you always want something more. Like, there's always a little bit more that you want. It's very hard for a seasonal to be, in my opinion, perfect. And I think the closest seasonal I've seen that did that was Vivi, which came out summer of 21. I loved Vivi. I thought it was fantastic, beginning to end. My only problem with it was the finale. I think they did fumble the finale bag, which was very unfortunate because the way the story is told made it so your plot could open and close and you would feel fulfilled because it only follows the two characters and it's isolated events in, up until the ending. And like I said, the ending is my only problem, not so much with how it concluded, but the way they structured everything. Like Oriko has a problem where there's so many characters that you're interested in that you want more information and you just don't get it because there's not enough time. Because it's only 12 episodes, or it's 13 episodes long, my apologies. I think the villain was a good seasonal villain. He didn't need to be anything fantastic. I think he did his job. The main two girls are very, very good. I believe the main girl's name is Chisato. She was the more popular of the two. Everyone
Yeah.
loved her, and rightfully so. I think she's awesome. The coffee shop owner, whose name is eluding me right now, is also fantastic. But overall, I think like Ariko, honestly, I would consider it part of Anime of the Year just because it came out of nowhere and all the love it got, all of the extra content it is receiving, I think is worth noting. Also, it was done by A1 Pictures, and when A1 Pictures actually dedicates themselves to something, they almost always deliver. So shout out to them.
hmm For me, I have never seen the series before, but it is so popular where I see it everywhere on anime Twitter and on my TikTok feed, especially the white hair girl. Is that Chisato?
Yes, the bubbly one is Chisato, and
Yeah.
Takina is the dark-haired girl.
Yeah, yeah. So I've seen a lot of them all over my For You page, and I will say it looks pretty to watch. It looks like a series I would enjoy. For some reason, I just didn't watch it during time. I think I was just working a lot. No, yeah, like Rico looks really good. Um, yeah, pretty much it. And I kind of want to give a nod to another anime that didn't get enough recognition this year. Devil a Part-Timer. Oh, wait, are you gonna mention Devil a Part-Timer season two, or
Was
are
that
you
was
gonna
that
mention?
summer?
That was summer. Devil of a Part-Timer season two.
So you see, because I have the my anime list done by score, so my anime
Okay.
or the popular ones are slowly falling. Devil as a part timer is worth mentioning. The problem is, yes, Amatsu. Sorry, Amatsu's in chat. Yes, like Ariko, that is the name of it. I don't know pronouncing the first word. I've been made fun of multiple times for how I pronounce the first word now, so I gave up. So Devil's Part Timer did come out, not to a lot of fanfare. That's the problem. A lot of people had their expectations set really high for it, me included. When I heard the first three episodes were a bore, especially from my friends who got me into anime all those years ago. One of those first ones was Devil as a Part Timer. When they said they weren't really messing with it, was when I was like, "Damn, all right, I'm not gonna spend my time on it then, because I'm just gonna be disappointed."
I never seen it, but I knew Wednesday was excited about it. So
I was so excited, and I was so disappointed when they said it was just kind of eh. I was so
yeah,
disappointed. Now, another one I want to talk about, and it sucks because I have not seen it, but I would honestly say this is probably a top three in anime of the year. Made in Abyss came out this year.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, Made in Abyss.
Yeah, Made in Abyss. I have a friend who every time we go out for drinks at the bar says to me, it's like, dude, for the love of God, you need to watch it. Like, you just need to. Like, the soundtrack is fantastic. Like, the show, everything about it is just so good. And you're not watching it. What's wrong with you? And I kept telling him, One Piece, bro, One Piece. I can't use that excuse anymore. So next time we see each other, he's going to yell at me. But Made in Abyss needs to be talked about because everyone who has seen it has said this is something special.
Mhm. For me, I actually seen season one of Made in Abyss way long time back before the panorama pandemic happened. And I remember it was kind of like when I first watched Berserk. I didn't know how to feel after watching it because there's some pretty like messed up scenes in that show where I didn't feel comfortable at that time thinking about or reading about. But Made in Abyss is a series where if you're into like series like Vinland Saga, Berserk, or I'm gonna throw this out there, Terra from Mars, you would enjoy Made in Abyss.
Ooh, there you go, flexing your knowledge there for a second. How many people in chat
Yeah,
know terraformers? Nobody. Probably like
no one.
5 people. All right.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I did not watch Made in Abyss, so I cannot speak on it for too long. But we are going to consider it when we're talking about anime of the year at the end. Now,
yeah.
the biggest movie that came out this year, one of the biggest movies that came out this year, One Piece Film Red dropped in August for Japan. It's a typical One Piece movie. You know, it's one of those things. It's fun to go watch. Shout out Amelie, got the voice Uta in the dub. Good for her. I'm an Amelie stan. I think she's fantastic. But One Piece Film Red came out this year, blew everybody out of the water. A lot of people had a lot of fun with it. We were getting Shanks' backstory, which, for those of you who do not watch One Piece, Shanks is probably everyone's favorite character that gets absolutely zero screen time. He probably has about 20 minutes total screen time across 1,000 episodes, but he is also one of everybody's favorite characters, me included. I'm a very big fan of Shanks. So I haven't seen this yet. Matsu's seen it. He loved it. Blacasta saw it. He very much enjoyed it. And I'll let you discuss more because you're the one who's seen it.
Uh, I like One Piece Film Red. I do have my issues with it. Um, I did like Uta as a character. Shout out to An Lee. I like all the songs that they played throughout the movie, but I feel like they were really dragging the movie long. And I feel like when as it's going on, you really start to dislike Uta, not for the reasons of the movie, but just like she's an annoying character for me. I loved all the action scenes. I think the animations was beautiful. But yeah, I feel like One Piece Home Red was a very good movie. I love seeing Shanks again. Shout out Ben Beckman. But yeah, I think it was a good movie. It had its issues, but you know what? Everybody enjoyed it. And if you're really into like listening to music, I recommend you watch this movie because it has a lot of good songs.
Well said, well said. Another, I want to
Yeah.
shout out all the old heads, all the old head anime fans out there. Legend of the Galactic Heroes got a movie this year. Apparently, it was decent. It was done by Studio Production IG. So shout out Legend of the Galactic Heroes. I've never seen the original, but it's actually one of the highest rated on my anime list, and I'm sure there's a reason for that. Maybe one day I'll get to it, but there's like 20 different versions of this series as far as I know, plus movies. So, with that being said, we now move into the most stacked card available. The
We're gonna
one
talk about this for a while.
we are going to talk about this for a while because it was the one we did the first podcast on. It is something that this is going to take forever. Fall 2022. What did we get? We got Your Name 3 came out this year. We got the Sword Art Online movie came out in the fall. We got Reincarnated as a Slime got a movie. Apparently it's not that great. Sad, but it's fine. We're actually going to start from the lower rankings and we're going to move our way up because I think that's the only way we can do this without sitting on this for years. It's telling when you can scroll down my anime list and you don't hit the sixes until you've scrolled about halfway down the page. Because normally when you're looking at these, the six ratings will like pop up like 4 rows down. You have to go down pretty far to see anything rated very lowly.
Mhm.
We're just going to do some skimmers. That Uzaki comedy anime that I can't stand got another season. People liked it. Good for you.
Zaki-chan?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Not big on it. It's whatever. It dropped in Japan, Amatsu. Urusei Yatsura got its remake. Apparently it's meh. Very unfortunate. I know Alanya was looking forward to that one. Arc
Yes.
Knights got an anime. Apparently it's not bad. What else? That time I got reincarnated as a sword. That got its anime this year. There's
Uh,
Oh, sorry.
Berserk.
That
Berserk
was
had its
that was the next one.
memorial
Yep.
release. Yeah,
Berserk got its Memorial Edition, which led into the re-release of the Blu-rays, which nobody, you know,
Asphalt.
yeah, nobody asked for. Steven was greatly disappointed. Rip Steven, you were a real one. To Your Eternity got its second season. Apparently not as good as the first season, which is why we're not going to talk about it. Also because I haven't seen it. That's the actual reason we're not going to talk about it. All right, the lowest rated out of all the TV series that came out that was a big enough name to talk about. This one I was very excited for. Caught up on the manga very quickly. I had not even started it when we did the first podcast. I'm already caught up, and I will say, ironically enough, the manga's starting to lose me, but I loved it for its peaks. It's Blue Lock, the soccer battle royale that took the world by storm. I keep using that. I need to stop doing that. Sorry. The soccer anime that really got put on everybody's radar. It's a very interesting concept where essentially the main person who wins the Blue Lock is going to be allowed on the Japan national team. Everybody who loses can never play for Japan. Now, mind you, they don't tell you this immediately. That doesn't mean they can't play soccer ever again. It just means that they can't play for Japan. They would have to go internationally. Blue Lock is adapting probably the one of the weaker parts of the series looking back, but it's still very good. It's looked very good. It's been very fun if you're into soccer. It's over the top sometimes, and I think the manga, why it's losing me, it's becoming over the top much more than it used to be.
The World Cup just got me.
The World Cup has really pushed this into the stratosphere where more
Yeah,
people are watching it, especially with how well Japan did.
yeah.
With that being said, though, I do think Blue Lock has its issues where, if you ever watch Kuroko's basketball, the thing with Kuroko's basketball was it was basketball disguised as a shonen. Or no, it was a shonen disguised as a sports anime, other way around. And a lot of people didn't like it because it was very unrealistic. Whereas Haikyuu was coming out at the same time, and that's a more realistic sports adaptation, much like Slam Dunk or something along those lines. Blue Lock's kind of similar, where it starts out more realistic. It takes itself more seriously to an extent, whereas you have all these symbolisms and you have these characters who are doing things that should not be physically possible for kids their age. It kind of suspends your disbelief for a while, but it kind of gets to a point where it gets a little ridiculous. And there are parts in the manga where I kind of rolled my eyes when they started introducing these concepts. It hasn't lost me yet, but genuinely it's getting there, which is unfortunate. It's getting very close to being dropped. But Blue Lock, the anime, on the other hand, I am enjoying wholeheartedly, and I cannot wait for certain arcs to be adapted. Blackasta, did you watch Blue Lock, or have you watched Blue Lock?
So I haven't read or watched Blue Lock, but I will say this: my one friend, she loves Blue Lock, the anime so far, and she thinks it's her favorite out of all the animes this season so far. So
That's
that's
fun.
saying something.
Yeah.
That's saying something. Yeah. And I can appreciate people really enjoying Blue Lock, especially with World Cup happening. And so maybe one day I'll watch Blue Lock, but currently right now,
Okay. Okay. I would recommend it. It's fun. Did you
no.
watch Kuroko's?
I did not watch Kuroko, which is weird,
Okay.
right?
You should. Honestly,
Okay.
Kuroko's for me, it had its moments towards the end where I thought it was corny, but for those of you who have watched Kuroko's, the game versus Yozen is
Okay.
fantastic. That's really the only game they actually hype up because the games kind of you play them as they come, and there's three games that get extremely hyped up. Number one, I don't remember which school it was, but Almin's team, the second game. The second game.
Mhm.
Then Yozen, they actually hype up Yozen at the beginning of season two, and the
Mhm.
game doesn't happen until the end of it. So Yozen's game, fantastic. Murasaki Bara is one of my favorite characters in the series outside of Almin. Kisei versus Almin, that game is fantastic, underrated. That was the end of season one. Absolutely underrated game. That was two of the antagonists playing against each other, and it was fantastic. It's actually why Kisei is my number one above Almin, simply because of that game and Kisei's last game. And then
Okay.
Rakuzan, which is the final game of the series. Rakuzan is fantastic. Toho, thank you. Rakuzan, fantastic game. But I feel like if you watch Kuroko's and you like Kuroko's, in turn you'll like Blue Lock because they're kind of the same, where it's like, there is a sense of unrealistic,
Mhm.
aspects there. But it's fun. I love Kuroko's. Actually, it's overdue for a rewatch. That may happen. Next anime we're going to talk about, one of the more anticipated anime of the season, but also one of the least anticipated anime of the season. What I mean by that, this was a series. You're going to know what I'm talking about as I explain it. It was on top of the world a couple years ago. Season 3 of this series was fantastic. It was peak. The fight in the middle of that season was honestly probably one of the best anime fights period ever. And I know, people are going to hear that and go, whoa. But I mean, if you really think about it, we're still talking about it. It happened 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Mhm.
This anime fell off the wagon for a while. This season, because of the content it was adapting, it was supposed to retake its throne, and it's showing flashes of brilliance. But every flash of brilliance is a dropped bag right next to it. I'm talking about My Hero Academia Season 6. This one, I started watching again for two reasons. Number one, Twice versus Hawks. Number two, Dobby. And both those episodes have already been adapted at this point. Both of those episodes were fantastic, super well done. You could tell they put a lot of heart into those episodes. The problem lies in all the other episodes. It gets extremely censored. A lot of things that happened are a lot more underwhelming than they were in the manga. And this is why people, it's like, well, anime is always going to be better than manga. That's not true. Sometimes the manga tones that get adapted to the anime are not the same, and it kills any semblance of feeling that you would have had when you read it. I think people are doing this a lot with Chainsaw, but I really think with Chainsaw it's more nitpicky because Chainsaw is arguably the most popular thing coming out right now. Whereas with My
Mhm.
Hero, I think there's a lot more you can say in regards to it that I would, agree with. Where, the brutality of what's going on does not get talked about enough. It does not get, it doesn't, what's the word? It's not reflected on screen the same way as it was on paper. But
Yeah.
that's my opinion. I could talk about My Hero and how I feel about it all day. I think the manga is fantastic. I know there are a lot of people who don't like My Hero, and I can understand it. It is kind of your cliche. It's our Naruto of the new age, but I do think it's very good. I do think people should talk about it more, and I think more people should read it because I think if more people read it, they would appreciate it more. And that's
Mhm.
all I got to say for now. We can have a conversation about My Hero one day in the future.
So I've been watching every episode of season 6 so far since, and for me, I'm still enjoying it. I know people have their creative differences on how Studio Bones is taking My Hero in their route, but I feel like if you're complaining about the animation to this day, you should really reevaluate because I feel like it started happening within season 4, and it really dived into season 5. So if you're if it you shouldn't really be complaining about it now because they started doing what they do to My Hero now back in season 5. So I really think there isn't should be really much complaint because that's what My Hero is known for now in its animation wise. I enjoy all the Dobby stuff that they release. I actually watched today's episode and I enjoyed that quite a bit. I do agree with the censorship. They have censored a lot. I don't know if it's due to their schedule time in Japan or any contract or thing that they have there, but I still enjoy My Hero. The manga is taking a slow burner for me right now,
Agreed.
as of right, yeah,
Agreed.
and I think yeah, like Wednesday put it perfectly. It's the Naruto of our generation. I feel like it gets more hate than it deserves. And if you generally are a My Hero fan, I do suggest watching season 6 and decide whether how you feel about it afterwards, after the 25th episode of the second core. But as of right now, the war arc, it's doing fine for me. I'm enjoying it. I'm not hard to please, but yeah, that's all I have to say with My Hero. It's doing okay so far.
I'm saying this an hour in. I know that it seems like we're kind of just saying our pieces and calling it there. We're not really discussing, but that's more
Yeah,
so going to be saved for the anime of the year discussion because while we're probably going to have some ones that we both agree on, we're probably going to have some that we don't. So,
yeah.
coming up next, we're going to start with this one. I'm gonna take like a kind of snake route here. Spy Family Part 2 came out. We've already talked about Spy Family. Um,
Yes.
Bocchi the Rock, the sleeper pick of this year, came out of
Belchite Rock.
Bocchi the Rock. Have you not heard of this?
I have never heard of Belchite Rock. Please
All right, Bocchi the
indulge.
Rock is a music anime. Now, when I like I said, my anime list is sorted by scores. This is the number 2 highest ranked show this season behind Bleach. It's a point zero 0.01 higher than Chainsaw. This apparently is fan fucking tastic. This was the one where everyone was talking about X, Y, Z, ABC. This one came out of absolutely nowhere and stole everybody's hearts. It's done by Studio Cloverworks. It is apparently fantastic. I do have to see it because anime Twitter has been saying like nobody is talking about this anime and it's actually fantastic. It's actually beautiful. We should be talking about this.
I actually
And
like the art style.
yeah, no,
I'm
it
looking at
looks good. Apparently the music's good, the storyline's pretty good, and I need to go into it. I need to watch it. I can't discuss too much of it. Obviously, Blackasta just said he hasn't seen it either, so we can't talk about it too much, unfortunately. But
Mhm.
I did want to at least bring it up. Now, the
Mhm.
big three. Arguably, these are going to be the three we're going to be talking about anime of the year for the most part. I'm going to start with the lowest ranked one. That doesn't mean it's bad. I do want to say I don't I've been saying, I've been mentioning the scores on my anime list. I do want to point out, while these do not completely reflect how I feel about these series, more so with manga than anime, because some of the manga that I really enjoy are ranked like 7 and 8. Whereas with anime, I will at least look at the score so I can have an idea of what I'm getting into, but I don't take that as this is how I'm going to, like, oh, this has a 7. This isn't going to be that great. That's not how I feel about it. And also, the scores are arbitrary. They're subjective, you know? Obviously, everyone's going to watch these things and have their own opinions on it. So, the reason I bring this up is because the lowest ranked of the next two I'm going to bring up is one that Blackasta is probably going to argue is anime of the year. It's Mob Psycho, season 3. Now,
Yeah,
so he just clapped because he's ready. He's sitting up. He's ready to talk about it.
yeah.
Unfortunately, my problem with Mob is not a problem with the show. I watched season 1 and season 2 back when season 2 came out. I forgot everything when season 3 came out. I didn't remember anything. I saw Serizawa and I said, "Who the hell is that guy?" And the moment I said, "Who the hell is
Yeah.
that guy?" Who the fuck is that guy? And I said, "I can't watch it. I need to go back and watch seasons 1 and 2 again before I watch season 3." But Mob Psycho 100 season 3 is the one that everybody talks about week to week. It is, if you have not seen Mob and you're thrown off by the art style, I get it. However, I highly recommend if you can power through how you feel about the art style and really give it, you give it a chance. I can't imagine being disappointed with the content that it gives you.
Mhm.
I will let you take over from here because you're the one who's going to have much more of an opinion on it than I will.
So Mob Psycho 100 season 3, I am quite saddened that it is not getting enough recognition amongst the fall anime season. I do believe Bleach, Chainsaw Man, and Spy Family are being talked more than Mob Psycho season 3, and I wish it was different because each and every single episode has been a creative masterpiece from Studio Bones. I like making this joke a lot, and I tell Wednesday this all the time. If My Hero had the budget, the Mob Psycho team took that budget and put it in their own show because every single episode was amazing to watch from start to finish, and you wouldn't be bored throughout any of the single story arcs that was going through the series. I'll talk about Mob Psycho a lot more when we're talking about episode of the year because there is an episode in season 3 that I personally would contend it as episode of the year. Uh, uh, Mob is an amazing character. Reagan's an amazing character. We get fan favorites that come back, and the final episode is actually coming out. upcoming Wednesday, and I'm saddened to say goodbye to Mob Psycho because after this, there's nothing more to adapt to this series. But as Wednesday said, if you are off put by the animation style, please, 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 just finish season one and decide from there whether if you would enjoy it or not. Because Mob Psycho is truly a masterpiece, and I think it's an anime that will be talked about for a very long time when it comes to one of the goats and one of the greatest. But so far, thank you, Mob, for making one of the best animes in this fall season.
Well said, well said. We're going to segue off that to what was my most anticipated anime, possibly, and I'm going to throw this out there, not only for me, but I think worldwide. I have not seen so much anticipation for an anime adaptation for a series since One Punch Man Season 1, way, way back when in 2015. Because I remember going to New York Comic Con and they had posters and they had banners for One Punch Man Season 1. Just off that alone, I watched the series. And lo and behold, what do we have but Chainsaw Man? Chainsaw Man was the one that me and Amatsu talked about probably the most during the very first podcast we did. Chainsaw
Mm-hmm.
Man is one of my favorite series. Fujimoto has very quickly become one of my favorite mangaka. Look back,
Yeah.
I own the physical volume. The moment I heard it was getting a physical volume, I had to buy it. Loved it. Goodbye, Eri. I cannot wait for that to come out as a physical volume because you best believe I'm buying that day of. And Chainsaw Man was the catalyst for everything. Chainsaw Man, for me, the adaptation, the first episode was a concerning yes. Why did the episode look the way it did? Well, that's because the budget was saved for the bigger scenes as the series went on. I think the direction, I think the cinematography, I think everything about this adaptation has been near perfect, especially with how Fujimoto draws his manga. There's a tone to it, and I can't really describe it unless you read his works. You'll kind of understand what I mean. Like those panels where nothing happens, there's just a long pause, and it just kind of sets the tone. Where like for a couple panels, nothing will happen, but it's just kind of like
Mm-hmm.
them sitting there. Like Chainsaw, I think Mappa has done a good job of reflecting these themes and these what's the word? These setups, I guess you could there's a word there, I'm just not pulling it from my brain.
Mm-hmm.
They've done a great job of really reflecting that onto screen and onto, our animation here. I think Chainsaw Man is probably my favorite of the adaptations so far this year, but obviously there is some personal bias there. Chainsaw Man is one of my favorites. It's probably not top 10, but it's close. I think Chainsaw Man, depending on how it finishes out Katana Man and how it goes into Bomb Devil moving forward, will really determine how people feel about it. And I mean, people already love it, rightfully so. Chainsaw Man is just a lot of fun. This is probably gonna be one of my leading picks for anime of the year, just because it's very hard to have all these expectations on your shoulders. It's very hard when something like this is hyped up as much as it was, and it delivers. An example I will use is a video game, Elden Ring. Elden Ring was one of the most anticipated games for years. Absolutely, just for years, it's the most anticipated game, and it came out, blew everybody away. It hit every single expectation. And while I have my problems with the game, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's bad. It's not bad. It's a great game. It is fantastic from the soundtrack to the tone to everything. I think Elden Ring exceeded somehow Elden Ring exceeded those expectations, and I think Chainsaw Man did the same. I'm losing my breath here. All right, you go.
So I think Wednesday hit a lot of great points about talking about with Chainsaw Man. As I describe Chainsaw Man, I feel like it's like a if an HBO show ever got an anime because there's a lot of things you wouldn't imagine they would show in the anime. For example, I'll give you a topic. The topic about sex. You really don't see that often in anime. Adulthood. You don't really see much of that in like your typical seasonal anime. And I think it being uncensored. I think it being truthful to its adaptation of the manga, it's perfect. Mappa is a great animation studio, and the single detail of each season. I'll give you an example. Aki slicing an apple. It's so pleasing to watch. Aki making tea, Denji making like jam on toast.
Him
It's
sparking up that
really
cigarette in the most recent episode.
exactly, and
Yeah.
it's like Mappa really are outdoing themselves to show that listen, we're here, and Chainsaw Man is our show where we want to show you that we're one of the best, and here's why. And like Wednesday said, Chainsaw Man is so popular where you see it anywhere. Even if you're not an anime fan, you've probably seen Chainsaw Man somewhere. And it's a great thing to see. I wish we get more series like Chainsaw Man properly adapted. And yes, it's probably a big contender for anime of the year. And I'm looking forward to see what they do with Chainsaw Man season 2 in 2030. Because let's be honest, Mappa has a lot of work cut out for them. Tell them.
Yo, set your Discord to do not disturb because I keep hearing your Discord notifications.
Sorry.
One thing I will say about Chainsaw Man to kind of wrap it up because I'm cheating. We haven't gone back. We haven't gone me speak, him speak, and then back to the same anime. But apparently, the head of Mappa read some of the first arcs for Chainsaw Man and immediately called up his people and said, "How are we going to get this adapted?" And apparently, he has also stated he wants to adapt all of Fujimoto's works. You best believe if there is a Look Back movie and a Goodbye Eri movie, I will be the first one to see it. If there's a Fire Punch anime, I will watch it. I'll watch it. I'll watch it. But Fire Punch is a lot more. If you think that the themes they present in Chainsaw Man are hard, Fire Punch takes it to of 11. Fire Punch is good, but Fire Punch is also very kind of hard to get through, especially for the themes that they work on. It's very, very, very tough stuff.
Yeah.
With that being said, finally. Well, actually, before we even do that, I already went over the movies. Never mind. All right, it's
Wait.
time.
Can I actually shout out a movie?
Sure.
Shout out a OG movie that just recently came out in Japan. Slam Dunk. Slam Dunk really put
Oh,
its
that just came
pedestal
out. You're
for
right.
sports. Yeah, it put its pedestal on 90s sports anime alongside with I believe Prince of Tennis at that time too. Shout out Prince of Tennis as well. But yeah, Slam Dunk is from a creator that me and Lindsay both love. I forget the name, but it's the creator of Vagabond actually,
Takahiko
and
Inoue.
Takahito Noe. Yes, and if it ever comes out in the East here, you best believe me and Lindsay are gonna go watch that movie.
So one thing I will say about Slam Dunk, when I did the first podcast with Amatsu, I had not read Slam Dunk. Since then, I read it to completion.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna sound like such a fanboy, but I just have to say it. My top
You
three
are.
manga in order: Real, Takahiko Inoue, Vagabond, Takahiko Inoue, and Slam Dunk. So that should tell you about he just hits every single piece that I am here for. Mitsui is probably one of my favorite characters in any sports manga and anime ever. I love Mitsui. There was a character whose name I am blanking on in the final game, and you can tell he was the blueprint for Aomin and Kuroko's basketball because a lot of similar concepts of the idea of you're so far ahead of everybody else that you become complacent, and
Mhm.
it when you're driven to the point of having to really like work, you see the greatness that lies underneath. Whereas with Almin, they took the approach of Taiga, who's one of the main characters. They took the approach of Taiga was the equal he was looking for. They basically showed in Slam Dunk that you weren't going to beat this guy by playing hero ball with Rukawa, who Rukawa is the prodigy for the main team. You were not going to beat this guy one on one. You had to work together and stop this guy from playing hero ball. And I could talk about Slam Dunk all day, but we're not here to talk about Slam Dunk. I haven't seen the movie yet. But shout out to Slam Dunk. That was a movie I was very much anticipating, and apparently it did deliver. Actually, I'm going to cheat. Let's take a look at what my anime list said about it. Give me a second.
While you do that, I'm gonna get a quick glass of water.
You're gonna what?
Get water.
Okay. So while he's getting water, I'm gonna waste some time here. Where the fuck is the Slam Dunk movie? I know the Slam Dunk movie came out. You can't hide from me. Where's my Slam Dunk movie? There it is. Oh, it doesn't have a rating yet because it only like just came out in Japan and like nobody has rated it yet. Okay. I also don't know what they're adapting. That's kind of important. I would like to know what they're adapting. But finally, I will lead us off while he's grabbing his water because I don't know how to edit. I don't know how to edit videos, so I'm just going to keep talking because when this goes on YouTube, it's going to be raw footage. Probably the biggest standout of the year when this got announced for a new season. We're going to adapt the final season of this anime. People, everyone my age, lost their shit. We had been waiting for a very long time. Not me, I've never seen it. We kind of need Blackasta to talk about this. This anime was one that a lot of people remembered very fondly in their childhood. Some people ended up reading the manga. Some people just kind of never found out how it ended. You've heard of the characters. I mean, Aizen is one of the most popular, one of the greatest shonen villains ever. And you could realistically make an argument for greatest villain ever. I don't think that's true. I think Griffith and Johan are kind of pedestals that you will not be able to reach in my eyes. But with the characters that transcend time, this is probably the weakest of the big three simply because of the filler, because it's a victim of its time. Whereas Naruto was a lot more appealing to the casual audience, and whereas One Piece is still going to this day, this anime really carved itself into the echelon of history as being part of the big three. It's also one of the highest rated series of all time, with the final season on my anime list. I am talking about Bleach, Thousand Year Blood War. I do not watch Bleach. However, I have cheated and I've watched a couple of the episodes. Obviously, I do not have context, so they don't mean as much to me personally.
I
But
didn't know that
what?
that you watched a couple of the episodes of
I
Thousand
did. I
Blood.
did. I watched some of them. I watched the Yamamoto versus Yuwak, or Yuhabak,
Yeah,
however you pronounce it. Um,
Yuhabak.
yeah, that episode was fantastic. Just as
Yeah.
somebody watching from the outside in, which just goes to show that Bleach has done its job. Where even people like me who never watched the original series, like this adaptation has made me say, all right, fine, I'll go back and watch it. You don't have to beat me anymore.
Hmm.
Bleach is a very, very strong contender for anime of the year, and I would not be mad if it won. I'll be honest, I would not be mad. I'm a massive Chainsaw Man fan. I think Chainsaw Man should win, but I do think Bleach, if Bleach won, it's one of those situations where if God of War beat Elden Ring, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. As long as it's not Stray. In
Yeah.
this case, I guess it's as long as it's not Blue Lock. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you're going to be the one to talk about Bleach, so just like Mob Psycho, please take it away.
Absolutely. So I personally believe with the Thousand Year Blood War, we actually have waited an entire decade to get this adaptation of a Thousand Year Blood War, and I believe Studio Peria, who did the original Bleach anime, is doing this as like a love letter to Bleach fans because you could clearly tell with like how they do the intro, how they do the outro, and just the way they animate Bleach now is completely different how they did back then because Bleach, I feel like back then looked lighthearted like Naruto and One Piece. It did have its gritty parts, but now when you think of a Thousand Year Blood War, you think of it's dark, it's depressing, it's bloody, it's violent. And that's what Bleach has always been in the manga. And unfortunately, due to censorship back in the day, it truly never had that potential. But with Period, it's uncensored. They're staying true to the source material and the adaptation. Is the pace going a bit too fast for me? Yes. But I think every episode we've seen is a really great one. It improves on the previous episode. I very much enjoyed Bleach. Big contender of anime of the year, like you said, Yamamoto versus Yuha Bach, amazing episode, and Yeah, there's nothing much more to say to Bleach than we got our anime back, and you could argue that it's the best of the big three.
Okay. So now we've hit all the big hitters of the year, and this is where we're going to start discussing, we're going to start debating. So, first thing we're going to do, we're not going to go through an entire awards show, obviously. We're not big enough for that. Maybe someday, but we're not big enough for that. We're just going to discuss our opinions on two things. One, episode of the year, two, anime of the year. Now, number one, we're going to talk about the episode first. So,
Mhm.
plenty of contenders, right? Plenty of contenders. I'm sure you could pick a Chainsaw Man or a Bleach episode out of a hat and say, this is the one, sir, and nobody would argue with you.
Mhm.
I believe Attack on Titan, the Rumbling episode, the opening of the Rumbling episode,
Yep.
fantastic. I think literally the end of that, just thinking about the end of the episode right now just gave me chills. The end of the episode where Eren talks to everybody in Paths and they illustrate that panel of what's the exact line, you know, the Titans in the walls will walk across the earth and stamp out
Pass
every
out.
single life outside of the walls.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, so oof, that episode is great. That episode is so good. Give me a second, let me make sure I'm not missing anything because I'm leading into something here. I'm leading into something. Okay, yeah. Oh wow, we forgot to talk about Shield Hero. Yeah, Shield Hero was a disappointment. There we go, that we talked about it. Oh, Demon Slayer, that was the one. I knew I was missing one. Demon Slayer, Yutaro versus
Usually,
Uzui.
Penman.
Fan, I listen. I always say, because I remember when we were hanging out at Alania's, Alania wanted us to react to Attack on Titan. And I remember I watched it back because she wanted my opinion. I said, you should not post this. We suck. we had we had Omega, who does not watch Attack on Titan, and you had me. I do not react to things. I do not react to things. I am very much like, you'll sit there and you'll see me nod. Like when something's over, like I will give my thoughts like I do now. I am not a physical reactor, which is, as people, if you watch reaction YouTubers, that's what you look for. Alani is very animated. Blacasta even is very animated. I
And
will say, the moment Uzui came back and he like just had that big ass smile on his face and he was like, this is it, we're going for the win, and he just blasts straight at Gyutaro. You gotta let's fucking go out of me. Like I got excited, like I was ready.
yeah.
And that does not happen, especially with Demon Slayer. I can't believe Demon Slayer got that reaction out of me for all the shit I give it, and then which is why I
Mhm.
will always defend the anime. And I think that is probably my number two episode personally, because I haven't seen the Bleach ones. That's
Mhm.
that Uzui versus Gyutaro with the ending of the episode where I'm a sucker for the credits just roll. Like when ReZero did it, I think that's one of my favorite episodes of anything ever. When the credits just start rolling at the end of the episode, and
Mhm.
when Demon Slayer did it, the credits start rolling after the
It
Gyutaro
ended
flood
on a
explosion.
cliffhanger.
Yeah, the big
Yeah.
Gyutaro explosion.
Yeah.
My pick, and it's an anime we haven't talked about because it's been forever continuously running. My pick, because when you discuss an episode, you have to think about context. You have to think about obviously what happens in the episode. You have to think of story significance, which kind of goes hand in hand with context. Whatever. My pick, and say recency bias, say what you will, but I don't think anybody could have watched this episode with context and just knowing everything, the direction of the episode took. One Piece 10-15. When I tell you, from the moment Luffy breaks the door to the roof to the end of the episode. Hell, you can even talk about Yamato and Ace at the beginning of the episode, how they illustrated the parallels between not only Roger and Luffy, but Sabo and Ace and Whitebeard and Odin. And how they animated that. And how they made you feel for Ace again with Yamato. They do the scene where Yamato hands Momonosuke his father's journal, and Odin's monologue as he dies, the transition into Luffy, and then Luffy's moment with Kinemon brought me to tears. Just the line of "I am too ashamed to face Odin in the afterlife" just hit me in the heart. Will you be able to carry the country of Wano on your back? And finally, leading into the time span where they show the moment you heard about Odin's death at the hands of fuckface Shogun, whose name I am losing right now. Orochi, thank you. I was going to say it has to do with the snake. And Kaido. Up to, Pedro's death, even, which you kind of forget about when that point comes. And just up to Yasui, whose death did make me emotional. It shouldn't have, but it did. It got me with his daughter, man. Up until the moment they were at the greatest punch in One Piece, somehow they beat the Celestial Dragon punch, the best punch in One Piece, into our boy declaring what we all know is going to be true very soon, that he will be the king of the pirates. One Piece 1015 for me clears everything else that came out this year. One Piece is the GOAT, one of the GOATs, I should say. And One Piece 1015 is my runaway favorite for episode of the year.
Yeah.
You go.
Okay. So, disclaimer, I'll put a disclaimer out here right now. I do not watch the One Piece anime. I'm a One Piece reader. So if One Piece
Wait, you haven't seen
1015
1015?
I've seen 1015,
Okay,
but
okay.
yeah. I'm a manga reader of One Piece. So that's why.
Oh, wait, one more thing I want to argue before you go. One more
Yeah.
thing. All the shit with Yamato and Ace, and most of the shit with the Kinemon interaction was anime filler. So, yeah, needs to be discussed, needs to be talked about.
hmm
All right, that's all I
So
want to say.
the first one in my list goes to Bleach. I don't know if you've seen this episode, but it's the episode where Ichigo finally arrives in the Soul Society and sees the destruction and massacre of the Gotei 13, and where he sees Byakuya, and Byakuya pleads with him to save the Soul Society. Also, by the way, Byakuya had one of the most terrifying scenes in the Thousand Year Blood War. That the scene with Byakuya versus Asnot was hard to watch because it was based on fear, and you see like bugs crawling into Byakuya's body and stuff, and it was out of like a horror movie. So shout out to them for doing that. But back to the episode. Yeah, it's when Bleach confronts, or not Bleach, Ichigo confronts Yuha Ba.
He's basically Bleach. He's basically Bleach.
I am the Bleach. He confronts Yuha Bach, and the scene where he just rages and like he powers up and starts fighting Yuha Bach was beautiful because they were fighting in the rain. You see their different auras of dark red and blue clashing against each other, and then the fight choreographic scene was amazing to watch, and then you get the big reveal that Ichigo is actually part Quincy, and tells him, "Listen, you have a lot that you don't know. How about your own mother? For those of you who's never seen Bleach, Ichigo's mother dies very early on into the series when he was a child in the flashback.
I was gonna say she's already dead at the beginning.
Yes, she's
Yeah.
already dead in the beginning, and he's like, you don't even know your true lineage. And Ichigo's swords break. Tensa Zangetsu breaks, and you see this panel. Actually, I'm going to show you this panel on Discord because it's one of my favorite like animation like panel scenes
Okay.
for a long time now. What is it? This one, and you see this other like regret and like shock in Ichigo's face, which I think they did perfectly. And they end the episode off with Yuhaba calling him my child in the dark. which is essentially preluding that Ichigo has never truly known about his true history the entire time. And I think it's beautifully executed. Fight scene was amazing, voice acting was amazing, and it was a good conclusion to the first arc half of the Bleach Champions of Blood Boy.
So, I
From my,
hear
yeah,
everything you said. However, you will not sway me from the King of the Pirates, the goat of the big three. I will not be swayed. I think you've made a good, compelling argument, but honestly, I think with Crunchyroll, because I know the Crunchyroll awards are the ones that everybody talks about, even though I will never, never take that seriously because Vinland Saga lost to Demon Slayer. You'll never hear
yeah.
me take that shit seriously. But I think One Piece 1015 came out too long ago. I do think recency bias is going to win out here. However, you will not sway me off the path. One Piece 1015 is one of the greatest episodes I've ever seen of anything ever. I will show that to people who don't watch anime. Like that really how many episodes of build up do you have from Kaido? You know, you have all this build up. You have all this shit that happens. You have all of Wano. He gets his ass beat the first time, and he finally gets to fight this big motherfucker. And just the way they opened into it, the animation, the like I said, the direction they took the episode. It was the same episode director as the person who did, I believe it's 982, which is the beginning of the raid
Hmm.
where what's his name, Kinemon, gives the big speech, and they do the
Yeah.
unsheath of the swords, and then they show Odin running with them. Same episode director, fantastic. I don't remember their name off the top of my head. I apologize, but they are fantastic.
It's a female. It's a female director. I know
It
that for
is.
sure.
Yes, 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 yes. And it was ooh, ooh, ooh. I can only say so many good things. You know what I mean? There's only so much I can say, and ugh, sorry, Bleach. Sorry. I'll watch you eventually. Maybe my opinion will change years down the line. But as it stands right now, you're not going to sway me off the King of the Pirates path. Our boy Luffy deserves this. He's been grinding
I
for years. He deserves this.
I understand that, but then that Bleach was my runner up for episode of the year. Here's my true one. Mob Psycho season 3, episode 6. Am I allowed to talk about spoilers?
Um, I feel like you have to make your point, and I'm probably not going to remember by the time I get to that episode. So,
So throughout the first half of the season, it's called the Broccoli Arc, where the entire town is brainwashed by this giant broccoli that you would notice at the end of season 2. And the mastermind behind the broccoli was actually Dimple, basically mob psychic from the first half of season 1 to season 2, and then he becomes the main bad guy of the first half of season 3. And it's the whole entire episode was a basically mob pleading with Dimple to not go down this route and controlling his emotions. And for you who've seen Mob Psycho 100, it's all about him trying to control his emotion and his power because Mob is actually the strongest character in that show. So he's struggling with the fact, and then as Dimple was fighting Mob, he came to the realization that all he wanted was to be loved and had a friend. And so as they try to like destroy the broccoli, these mini broccoli, it's like Cell Juniors. They're basically Cell Juniors, but in like mob broccoli form, trying to kill Mob, and it's basically the entire episode is Dimple fighting this army of broccoli heads to save Mob and to destroy the broccoli. And I would compare the episode to Saitama versus Boros from season 1. Almost exactly that same type of fight where it was just so beautiful to watch. Every single scene was animated perfectly. The voice acting was amazing when it came to that. And then the conclusion of the episode is that Dimple had to sacrifice himself to save Mob and to save everybody in the town and destroy the broccoli tree with him. But that's not even the saddest part. Dimple brainwashes Mob to leave the broccoli tree, and it's basically Mob saying his final goodbye to Dimple, and Dimple saying his final goodbye to Mob, and Dimple sacrificing himself. And the end of the episode is Mob crying and saying thank you for being my friend, Dimple, without his emotional percentage ever increasing. It is a very heartfelt episode, and I actually kind of cried because it was just if you ever had like that one friend that you would never see again or knew that would be gone, I would compare it to that, but no. Mob Psycho season 3 episode 6, my anime of the year, and
I
it doesn't get talked about enough.
I have just one question for you.
Yes,
Where is the part where Mob turns to the camera and says, "I will be king of the pirates"? I didn't hear it. I didn't see it. Where? Tell me where that happens.
listen, man.
I
Listen.
will not listen. I am firm in my. You will not convince me otherwise. Where is Dimple? Where is Dimple saying, "Can you hold this town on your back as he dies"? There is none.
At,
There is
at
none.
least we don't have, at least we don't have a 3 minute intro.
Hey man, that 3 minute intro did not matter by the end of it. All right. Actually, no, I don't think it had a. I don't think that one had a long intro. I'm
Did
pretty
it
sure it went
not?
right into Yamato and Ace. Dude,
Okay.
tell me when Mob's grandfather falls into a vat of boiling water and says 20 years from now, there will be a resurgence of the new era. Even after my death, those psychics will take down
Okay.
the broccoli tree and they will be the
How
successors to my will.
you tell me what kind of show has you like feeling crying, sad, hypeness over a freaking dimple fighting a broccoli army? Nothing could do that like Mob Psycho. Mob Psycho is so weird that it's great, and it will pull on your heartstrings. You tell me when Luffy fights Thousand Broccoli army
He did. He fought
with
the
a,
fishmen.
with a
He fought the fishmen and took out like 700 of them at once with his hockey.
were they broccoli? Were they food? No, they weren't.
They were mermen. Merman. Zoolander reference. Shout out Tyler. Bonclay. Yeah, Bonclay. Bonclay's a good example. Yeah. Bonclay. Bonclay fought against a demon. He got his
So
ass beat. Yes.
fun fact, Bond plays alive.
I know. I
If
hate
you
that.
so you can use that excuse a lot. Bond plays alive.
All right, it's not my fault. Oda doesn't like killing people, all right? He killed like 7 people in Wano, though, which is weird.
The bird dude in Alabasta's alive.
Yeah, that made no sense. My man tanked a nuke. That man
Yeah,
tanked a
Amatsu,
nuke.
you didn't know? Amatsu didn't know Bond plays still alive.
Oh yeah, nah. They show him like a side excerpt. He's still alive. He essentially took over. What's the dude's name? Ivankov.
Until now.
Yeah,
Yeah, Ivanka.
he basically took over Ivankov's role in the prison. Like he's still alive. I don't. It's stupid. Stupid.
Listen, my only gripe with One Piece, it's this, and it has nothing to do with Wano. It has kind of the same formula of Luffy arrives in the island, is a princess that needs help saving the kingdom, or a particular figure. Luffy's like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of that person and submit them. And then Luffy gathers majority of the people in that island. They fight the bad guy. He saves the day. Marines come after him, and they have to escape. The end.
Yes, but I mean that's also there's canonical reasons for that I won't get into for people who don't read the manga, which you know, but it's fine.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess you've already given your opinion for why Mob is anime of the year. I would like to go through the list of things that should at least be. There's going to be an honorable mentions. There's going to be what I feel should actually be anime of the year. I think like Oriko is at least worth mentioning once again because of all the fanfare. It's not anime of the year, but it should be at least recognized. Made in Abyss, also should at least be recognized. I haven't seen it, so I can't give a true opinion of that. What else we got? Not Overlord. Sorry, Overlord.
Are we counting movies?
No movies,
Okay.
because movies would be a different category. But I think we would have the same one anyway, so we're not gonna talk about
Yeah.
that. Hold on. Okay, Demon Slayer should at least be talked about. I think Attack on Titan should at least be talked about. Dress Up Darling, good for you, should not be talked about. Kaguya should be. Spy Family should be. Sorry, Rising. Sorry, Shikamori. Summertime Rendering, honorable mention, should be talked about. Kaguya. And then we have Chainsaw Man, Bleach, Mob.
Yes.
So,
Out of all of those,
Out
which
of-
truly, in your opinion,
all right. Which one is anime of the year? Now, my criteria is as follows. I think we need to think about cultural impact, which is a big reason why Elden Ring was considered for Game of the Year, I feel. Cultural impact, story, animation. There's a lot of things that go into this. Now, the reason One Piece is never considered is because One Piece is ongoing forever. So, unfortunately, that will not be that cannot be considered. For those of you wondering why we're not going to talk about One Piece here, I think for what it is, I think Attack on Titan is actually the weakest of our candidates here, because
I agree. It's a small portion of the story being told.
Yeah. I do think Attack on Titan should at least be recognized for how good it is. I think it should be talked about for, once again, the cultural impact of Attack on Titan has slowly diminished over the years. Attack on Titan season 1 to me is still almost, I would argue it's near peak. I think Attack on Titan season 1 had the best direction. I think it had not the best content adapted, but I do think the scenes that they adapted was very, very. Let me put it this way: if you go back and you watch season 1 and then you watch season 2, you can see the drastic change in its direction, and its its art style even kind of changed a tiny bit. But with Attack on Titan, I think outside of season 1, its cultural impact is kind of diminished outside of the ending of the manga. Which, we're not talking about that. We're talking about final season part 2. I think the content adapted was very good, but at the same time, I do agree with what you said. The pacing, very weird. They're milking it, and I just can't get behind it. So I'm going to put Attack on Titan as my weakest candidate amongst the animes of the year. I think the next one to talk about would be, I can't argue for Mob. So Mob's my issue. I can't argue for it. So I'm not even going to talk about it because, like I said, you've already had it as the anime of the year. I haven't seen it, so I cannot consider it an anime of the year. The next weakest one we're going to talk about here, in my opinion, I say weakest. None of these are weak. Let me just point that out. None of these are weak. Kaguya. I do think Kaguya should be discussed. I do think it is not, though. I think Kaguya-sama is very, very good, but nobody talks about it. And I think the reason for it is it's not as niche as your shonen anime. A lot of people have a problem with when shoujo are blossoming and doing well. But I do believe that Kaguya lacks that cultural impact. And I know I'm using cultural impact a lot, but it's going to lead into why I have what I have as my number one. Kaguya should be recognized for how good it is and how important it is for the genre of rom-coms in general and shoujo in general.
Yes.
But it is not my anime of the year. Next, we're going to talk about... See, I haven't seen Bleach either, but I'm going to put Bleach here simply for the fact that I do think Bleach's comeback has been astronomical. It's another one. Cultural impact is probably near top. If not top, you can make an argument for it being top. Bleach, only issue I'm going to run into with it is what you said, the pacing issues. The fact that they're going to cut it up as much as they are. And a lot of the big moments I feel have already been adapted at this point. So it needs to finish out strong, and I'm sure it will. But I'm not going to say too much on it because I haven't seen it in its entirety. I do not have context. So I can only go off cultural impact, which is very high. But I'm going to put it here for reasons that I'm going to talk about with my next two entries. Now, we're down to 3, 2, 1. Number 3, we're going to have Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer.
I'm trying to put it that high.
Well, all right. Demon Slayer has the issue of the first half. The first half is why it drops. We cannot enter an era where we're going to readapt shit that's already been adapted. I cannot have that, because if we have that, we're never going to get anime. Like, it's almost like if they readapted like the end of part 6 and the beginning of part 7 for JoJo's. It's like, I've seen this. I have seen this. Do not reanimate it for the people who were too lazy to either go see it or watch it. No, don't do that. The content of Red Light District, the beginning, like the first 4 episodes, really kind of dragged. I am probably the biggest Zenitsu hater on the planet as well, so anytime Zenitsu's on screen, I just roll my eyes. However, they really made me care about Uzui more than I already did. Uzui is probably my top 3. He might actually be my favorite Hashira. I am a big fan of characters that, you know, while they talk a big game, they are aware that they're not the shit. Like, they know, like, I ain't shit compared to some of these other people. And Uzui, as much shit as he talks, his admiration for Rengoku, the conversation that he has with Snake Bitch, I hate that guy. At the end of the season where he's just like, dude, I'm done. Like, I can't. Iguro, thank you. He's like, I can't keep doing this, dude. And he tries to call him weak, and he's like, dude, I am weak. But, you know, I just can't keep doing this, you know? Yeah. And, I mean, let's be real. The final fight, like the final 4 or 5 episodes were just, every week was must watch. Every week. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just so good. But it falls here simply because my top 2 are just that good. So, Demon Slayer, I mean, also, I keep bringing up cultural impact. Demon Slayer is the most popular ongoing anime on the planet. And I think how its manga sales jumped when it got adapted kind of tells that story for me. So, we are down to our final 2, and these are a 1 and 2 for me. It is between Spy Family and Chainsaw Man. And my number 1 is actually going to be Spy Family. Ding, ding, ding. Streamers. Boo. Yay. Wow. Soundboard. Pop off. I don't have a soundboard. We'll get a soundboard for later. Now, why do I have the Spy Family adaptation over one of my favorites? I do not think, this is not me saying Chainsaw Man lacks in any department. This is also not me saying Spy Family far exceeds it. This is like a 10 and then a 9.99. Chainsaw Man is only adapting a small part of the story so far. I think Chainsaw Man taking the world as it has in its grasp and really opening the eyes of the people to something that's, while it's a shonen, it's different. You have Spy Family, which everybody can watch. If somebody said, I don't watch anime, what's a good starter? I think Spy Family can fall into that. I think Spy Family, you know, people recognize Yor at this point. People recognize Anya at this point. The story is fun while also being suspenseful. It has a lot of lovable characters and a lot of lovable moments. The things they added to the anime really just it really enhanced, that's the word, it enhanced the experience, such as the castle. The castle's like half a chapter in the manga, and they made it an entire episode, and and it was fantastic. Everything they added here was fantastic, and it came out with a part 2, and even part 2, while it's slower, it's still doing numbers. People still love Spy Family, and people are going to love Spy Family for years to come, and people are going to be waiting for its adaptation to come out. Same with Chainsaw Man, mind you. But I think, for me, I'm giving it to Spy Family just off of how well it's been adapted and how well it exceeded my own expectations. Whereas Chainsaw Man, I think the problem with Chainsaw Man for me is, like, I was already expecting this to be as top tier as it is, and it was. It was just as good as I knew it was going to be. Whereas Spy Family has exceeded all of my expectations while also having a level of cultural impact to rival something like Chainsaw Man, which had all the marketing on the goddamn planet. It rivaled Demon Slayer, which once again is the most popular anime on the planet, and it even rivaled Bleach.
With
So,
nostalgia.
yeah, it's carried. I don't want to say carried by nostalgia, but a main portion of its anticipation was the nostalgia. You're seeing all your
Yes.
characters come back. Spy Family has officially clicked itself into the annals of history for me, and that is why Spy Family is going to be my personal anime of the year.
Can I say a few points about Spy Family?
Sure.
So I do agree with Wednesday. I believe if Crunchyroll's do put in nominee as Anime of the Year, I do believe Spy Family should win. You also need to remember, Spy Family came out in a time where there wasn't really much animes that were keynote or highly watched. So Spy Family was holding it down week by week throughout the spring and summer. And like Wednesday said, it's an anime where anybody could watch. If you're a fan of rom-com, it has a couple of rom-com elements in there, action, and just slice of life. And like he said before, Anya, your lore, and even the dog now, Bond, are way mainstream now than like Demon Slayer would or Chainsaw Man would. Like let's be honest, Uniqlo had their first Spy Family collab within the first month.
That
It
is
took a
true.
while for One Piece, Demon Slayer, and Jujutsu Kaisen to get their Unicorn collab. So it's very telling on how popular Spy Family has been, and it deserves it. So yeah, here's my opinion on that.
Well, get your streamers out, get your party poppers out. Spy Family is my anime of the year. Mob is Blackasta's here, and that is
Yeah.
actually where we're going to end the discussion. Well, actually, that's where we're ending the discussion on this year. But I just skim overs. I don't want to talk about them for too long because I actually have something I need to do very soon. Um,
Okay.
but winter 2023, we have Bungo Stray Dogs season 4, which is one of my favorite series. If
Mhm.
you have not watched Bungo, highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun, a lot of great characters. It's a sign-in, so older people can really get behind it. Um, Big fan, highly recommend. Tokyo Revengers gets its
Mhm.
season 2 for those people who care about that. I don't. Somebody does. You guys get your anime. Good for you. Clap clap. Near Automata comes out in less than a month. Didn't even realize that. Comes out in less than a month, and that one actually looks like it's gonna be really good. Trigun Stampede also comes out. I am very excited for that one. That one looks gorgeous. Orange, Studio Orange. My God, they have outdone themselves. And of course, Vinland Saga Season 2, adapting Farmland. Holy shit, one of the best arcs in manga ever. Please, please, please watch that. And also, Black Clover comes out March 31st in Japan.
The movie.
Yep. So,
And on Netflix worldwide, March 31st as well. So,
and also, there he is again.
yeah.
Detective Conan gets an anime movie again. Good for Detective Conan. Keep it up.
We also need to talk about, and even though we don't like it as much in the anime format, Records of Ragnarok season 2 is also coming out.
Oh, I actually was unaware that was coming out season 2 so soon. I say so
Yeah.
soon, it's been over a year.
Jujutsu Kaisen season 2, adapting the Hidden Inventory arc and the Shibuya Incident arc.
Yep, yep. Monogatari's getting another anime. I did
Yep.
not know that. Monogatari's getting a new one.
Doctor Stone fans, they're getting Doctor Stone
Yep.
New World season 3.
Ancient
Uh,
Magus Bride season 2.
yep.
Swordsmith Village comes
Demon
out next
Slayer.
year.
Yep.
Ranking of Kings. There is a lot coming out next year. Mind you, they may not be as massive as what we got this year, but we do still have a lot of really big ones. So highly, highly, highly cannot wait. Also, final season Attack on Titan. Goblin Slayer might be this upcoming year. For those who care, I don't. Hell's Paradise coming out end of this year, end of this upcoming year. That's one to talk about. Reincarnated as a
Konosuba.
Slime. Konosuba, yep, yep. There is a lot coming. Also, Shield Hero season 3. I know season 2 dropped the ball. I am still anticipating season 3 though. And with all that being said, that is where we are going to end. We're gonna let X31 take us out. on that. X31 is a friend of the stream. Please go give him a follow on Spotify. I believe he is also on Apple Music. I believe he said he is on all streaming platforms. Go give a follow to the person who inspired this podcast, named Ty Loves Movies on Spotify. Please go give that guy a look up. If you love film, if you love hearing about film, if you love hearing somebody talk about something they're passionate about, that is the guy. He knows more about film than I know about probably everything in my mind. So please go give that guy a listen. Blackasta, my guest, thank you very much for joining. If there's anything you would like to plug, please do so now.
I already have don't have that much to plug. If you want to hear my anime takes, follow me on Twitter at HarryDan647. There's where I mostly talk about my anime takes, my anime opinions, and some other stuff about movies and quirky movies. But other than that, thanks for having me. It was very fun. Wish we had more to talk about, so hopefully we could do some more in the future.
All right, I appreciate you having you on. So with that said, I'm sure we'll do this again at some point in the future. Next podcast may actually be end of year MMA awards, so we're gonna see about that. I need to get Ish, because every time I'm ready to do the podcast, Ish isn't, and then when Ish is available, I don't feel like doing it. So we'll figure it out. But all of those out there, if for whatever reason I don't end up doing a podcast for the end of the year, we will see you all in 2023, hopefully. We don't have a 20th Century Boys moment where we get a bloody New Year's Eve or something, anything like that. No, that is not me implying anything. FBI, please. All right, with that being said, everybody, have a good rest of your day, week, month, year, and have a happy holiday if we do not speak before that.
Yes. Happy Hanukkah.